Next question says, the author is likely to agree with which of the following? Option 1 says, the less cultivated the mind, the less courage there is to face important subjects objectively. Now, author has said that certain subjects are discussed only by the cultivated mind. That is because the others are scared or are afraid that these subjects can evoke crude passions and indecency. This does not mean that the more cultivated mind has more courage. This only means that a less cultivated mind does not want to discuss this in order to avoid certain situations. The courage of the cultivated mind to discuss this may also come from the fact that everywhere around him are cultivated, and hence the possibility of acceptance of the subject is greater. Hence, this is not about courage but about how comfortable the crowd in general is about discussing certain subjects. So, option A is incorrect. Option B says, we often see the abuse of authority to keep people in ignorance and error. Author has not commented on it. Author has said that generally as a society we have decided that we will not be discussing certain subjects, but, and this is the societal norm, but it is not that authority is trying to keep us from discussing these. So option B is also incorrect. Option C says the ordinary man dislikes having his mind unsettled, his passions awakened. Author has said this in the first paragraph, where he said that people who are not cultivated enough do not want these crude passions to be evoked, and hence they do not discuss the subjects which can evoke them. Hence option C is correct. Option D is incorrect because both A and B are incorrect. Next question is, which of the following can be inferred about the passage? Option A says the subject of sex is suppressed because it is a taboo. Author has talked about this in whole of second and third paragraph, where author has said that sex is a subject that can evoke indecency, and hence it is not discussed very openly. It is considered a taboo and it is not discussed with kids and even young girls who are about to get married. Hence option A is correct. Option B says young girls need protection from risks that they are too young to understand. Author has said something which is opposite of this. Author has said that even when girls are too young to understand, ignorance can pose greater risk than this discussion of subject, and hence option B is incorrect. Option C says the consent to marry can be given only when one has knowledge of sex. Author says this is how it should be, but this is not true as of now. Hence, the consent to marry can be given even when the girl has no knowledge of sex or of intimacy that is involved in the marriage. Option D says a relationship cannot be realized if the details of it are suppressed. The relationship can be realized although it might not be ideal. For example, author has said that a young girl who has no knowledge of intimacy or sex can agree to get married, can realize the marriage, and can enter an institution where she has no idea of what she is entering. So the relationship can be realized, but that is not an ideal. So option D is also incorrect. Correct answer to this question is option A. Next question says, why is it important for children to be taught by qualified unrelated adults? Look at the second last paragraph, where author says, the parents shrink from the lesson even when they are otherwise qualified because their own relationship to the child make the subject impossible between them. So he's discussing a case of reticence where the parent or the adult and the child are not comfortable to discuss that subject. Also, he says the parents shrink from reason even when they are otherwise qualified. So there is a possibility that parents or related adults might not be qualified also. Let's go back to the options. Option A says related adults might not be qualified. This is true. Option B says the relationship of the child with the related adult is reticent. This is also true. Option C says the discussion can be free and without reserve if done with an unrelated adult. That is, again, author has said that if parents are not able to often discuss the subject with their kids because they're not comfortable, because they're related. So option C is also true. Hence, all of the above will become the answer. Correct answer will be option D. Next question says, which of the following has not been discussed as an aim of sex education? The entire last paragraph, author has talked about why sex education is important, especially with young girls. So option A says to be able to differentiate between accurate and inaccurate information. Author says that if we do not discuss these subjects and if we do not give correct information to our kids, we are virtually arranging to have our children taught by other children in guilty secrets and unclean jests. then that settles the question for all sensible people. So he's saying that if we do not have things like sex education, or if we do not discuss sex openly with our kids, then they might get inaccurate information. For them to be able to differentiate between accurate and inaccurate information, sex education becomes important. Hence option A is correct, but not the answer for this question. Option B says to be able to understand the moral and cultural framework of society. Author has not talked about understanding framework of society as an aim of sex education, because society considers topics like sex as a taboo. So framework and society and morality of society might not come into picture when sex education is discussed. Option C says to be able to make informed choices. This is something that the author has discussed when he has talked of an example of a young girl getting married without the knowledge of intimacy. So she is not making an informed choice, and author considers that incorrect, and hence option C will become correct. Option D says to be able to form correct attitudes and beliefs. The author again in the same example has said that the girl enters the marriage with a different attitude because she believes that this relationship with the husband will be very similar to relationship with any other close relative. Hence, she is not forming the correct attitude and belief about the relationship in absence of sex education, and hence option D also becomes correct. The correct answer to this question will be B, to be able to understand the moral and cultural frameworks of society, as it has not been talked of in the passage. Hence answer is option B.